All right, guys, my people, this one, Udenta. For some of you who don't know Udenta was very, very popular during the time of 2023 presidential election. It was back to back on every channels, mainstream medias. It was on a rise back to back, channels back to back, speaking truth to power. Yes, but this time, I want you to listen to what Udenta have to say concerning Jonathan, concerning Peter Obi, concerning Tinubu, and concerning the journey to 2027. Let's listen to Udenta.
With the year 2027 gradually approaching, various stakeholders and opposition political parties have been deliberating on possible names that can lead their campaign to unseat the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Lately, the reported 2027 ambition of former President Goodluck Jonathan has split the People's Democratic Party into two camps, with the stakeholders holding divergent positions on the issue. While some party members believe Jonathan should not contest against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, various political pressure groups drummed up support for the ex-leader. However, if former President Goodluck Jonathan decides to run, what are the chances of him creating an offset against President Bola Tinubu? Joining us on this show to discuss this is Professor Udenta, a political strategist and a founding national secretary of the Alliance for Democracy, AD. Professor Udenta, good morning and good to see you again. 2027 and all these debates, conversations, permutations about whether or not President Goodluck Jonathan should run, and whether or not, if he decides to run, he will stand a chance against President Tinubu. Since those who are encouraging him to run are saying, oh, he's the best candidate that can get President Tinubu out of the place. He's from the South, he will only do one term, and all of that. What do you think? What do you advise?
Somehow, for some reason, a spectre is haunting the Nigerian political space. That spectre is much more acute within the ranks of the dominant or the hegemonic power bloc. This power bloc is composed of top members of the parliament, presidential power brokers, including noisy aides of the president, distracted ministers, and lawyers with dubious agenda. That spectre is Jonathan's second coming. You'll recall that precisely 10 years ago, slightly more than 10 years ago, that historic moment that former President Jonathan picked that phone and made a call to late President Buhari, then General Muhammad Buhari. I lost you one. Congratulations. Set a tone for a new direction, a new conversation about democracy and its consolidation in Africa, not just Nigeria. Became the brightest moment of the reawakening of democratic sensibilities and consciousness. 10 years down the line, as a global statesman and a leading African figure, the news is all over town. The former President Jonathan may likely seek a second term, even though he has not spoken directly. That is why that's why the rank of the power brokers are frightened. And it is understandable for objective reasons why there is confusion in their ranks. I'll ask the question to, you three guys. When ministers, party leaders of the APC, and presidential spokespersons give advice to PDP, they've already branded dead. Not to feed Jonathan because of some legal consequences. It looks as if they're taking Panadol for other people's headache. The critical problem is that the second term of the president is going to be a referendum. It will not be an aspirational moment in which, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the country. I'm a newcomer in the game. I'm freshly minted. 4 years is enough time for the country to assess him, to say, if you're coming back 2027, this is a scorecard. 2 years plus after the macroeconomic shocks of Naira floating and subsidy removal, the land is still ravaged by poverty and hunger and insecurity. That means if a Jonathan is to be a candidate of the opposition party, especially the PDP, he was the last president of that party, it's going to be a tall order for the president and his team to win. For the simple reason that they're going to run on your term. At that time, it's going to be a shabby, clueless, incompetent term of office. That being the case, it is better to shut down that conversation quickly, to declare the former president possibly constitutionally debarred from contesting, and then to create some sense of chaos and disorder within the ranks of his party. Now let's talk briefly about the PDP. Reuben, Rufai, and Ayo, for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, the party was pronounced dead, racked by internal factionalization and contradictions that would never find its bearing. Therefore, the party was written off. Now, the same party that was written off is now being asked not to fill the former president because the party has rebounded, recreated, and reborn. That took a long time in coming. I'm not a member of the party, but I'm a close watcher of party politics in Nigeria and a student of our history. The rebirth of PDP was a difficult process, marshaled by three forces. The Governors Forum, led by the Governor of Bauchi State, the chairman of that forum, the BOT, led by Senator Mabara, and the rebranded NWC, led by Ilea Damagos, and Ambassador Damagos, the chairman. With the stage coming back of the secretary of the party, the tone was set for party rebranding. 3 or 4 next, a convention just around the corner, and possibility that out of the ashes of his previous, disastrous moment of the past year and a half, the party is set to become coherent once more. If that happens, and President Jonathan, on the heels of the persuaders who are very agitated that they should come into the fray and save the nation, almost on the edge of the precipice. That's why they find this particular phenomenon is rankling the ranks of the APC and the presidential insiders. If it happens, my suspicion is that it's not only the internal factors of his competence and ability, maybe to do what he did, decade plus ago. Stabilize the economy, the foreign exchange. It was very low, naira to dollar. Grew the economy to be the biggest in Africa. Fought Boko Haram to a standstill. Ruben, you were there. A standstill. The internal domestic franchise was completely masculated. The size broken into pieces. The sources of fund destroyed. And many other things one can keep talking about if the time is available. If he's to come back with 10 years of deep experience and exposure in international politics, the context, therefore, in 2027 will no longer be a national context, becomes an international context. That means the eyes of the world will be on the country. That means anybody going to leverage on the apparatus of the state. We're going to leverage on the army, the DSA, the police, the INEC. We have a pause because there'll be acute and intense scrutiny of the electoral process, which may be unprecedented in our history and possibly not to be witnessed if Jonathan is not going to contest. These, for me, are some of the reasons why there is visible panic in the ranks of the other side. The other second person who I'm sure is creating that sense of panic was the former candidate of the Labour 2023. I didn't mention him too. All right. Because he was a member of the PDP for a long time. And if indeed the party, as I say, is reborn and himself is only part of that mix.
But if he does decide to run based on the pressure from different parties, with the structure that the APC currently have, and the power of incumbency, do you think any party currently has the structure to accommodate a viable opponent to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Have you absorbed the people? Have you taken the infrastructure of public support or public anger or discontentment? Have you taken that into consideration? We saw what happened in 2023. It was a wake-up call for APC and even PDP. When a candidate of the Labour Party, without the so-called infrastructure of support, without governors, without senators, without reps, without even local government apparatus, gave everybody a run for their money. Some even stay content, we don't know who won that election. So APC structure you're talking about is a structure that is elitist in content. It is just the top 110%, parading themselves as leaders of the parties across the country. Even PDP as a party with some difficulties over the years has enormous structure, maybe more than even APC, because it's been deeply embedded since 1998. What it needs is just something like a shot in the arm, that convention in November, and the party is roaring back. Every home, every village, every ward in the country has a PDP presence. So if the former president who has not spoken, actually, whether he's going to contest or not, we have to take up that challenge and use that platform. There'll be, I suspect, a rush from across the other opposition parties, even from Labour, even from ADC, even those sitting on the fence, even members of the APC. And the reasons are very simple. One, you said it, Dr. Ruben, in your introduction. a guaranteed one term, which of course P2B has been screaming about because he knows the importance of that. 2023, Southern emerged as a president. The indication there is that a Southern will continue to 2031. That's why the PDP strategic zoning to the south, led by the Governors Forum, was a very important decision, a very important courageous decision. But the Northerners may find it extraordinarily difficult this time around to do it. But the simple reason is that the South is already going to become a cohesive front. If you don't have a strong person like the former President Jonathan of P2B to contend with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then it takes the entire South. If you have President Jonathan, for example, and maybe there's no B in the ticket, the entire Southeast and South Side is gone from the APC. No doubt about it. He can quote it today and he can do a town hall and bring me on board for that conversation. If P2B is going to context and maybe former President Jonathan is out of the race, the same two zones will be completely out of the reach of APC in spite of those politicians at the top. And for the North, they will settle this dispute. That's why PDP zoned it to the South. The North will settle this dispute. How will they settle this dispute? Anybody who has ears on the ground, who understands the tremors of politics and these tectonic shifts in the country today, will understand that it's not we heave for former President Jonathan for very good reasons. One, his liberal disposition, the fact that he considered the election easily and walked away. He grew himself into a powerful global brand, into a powerful African brand, building consensus across nations, holding election meetings and so on, and then doing monitoring and conflict resolution. And again, his record on service, far better than what we have today, even the past 8 years of Buhari. So the North will take that single decision. We want a liberal-minded president who will not hold power, who will not grab it and run, who will be inclusive.
Okay. My people, I don't have much to say, but tonight we're going to be playing this particular video, or rather referencing to it, so that we can in-depth analyze it. My people, NAIJA will draw this curtain. Join us every day, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Let's continue to talk about the things that affect you and I. Take care, guys, and bye for now.